it's served me well. And then I think sometimes it cuts against me where, I don't know, I could be in a house that's burning down and I'm like, like, at least we're not out in the cold. You know what I mean? I'm like, try to find like positive in everything, and like, sometimes I don't know how I'm doing. Honestly, people like my close friends, like, how are you doing, man? And I'm like, really? I don't even know. I'm just like going like, I do know, and it's a reality for this business that I built. And I'm like, literally blood, sweat, and tears. You know what I mean? And I'm like, if we were to shut down, I don't know if we could open back up. And that's real, right? And so I'm like, I try to do everything I can, one, to serve my family first, the people that depend on me second, and my community third, So if by being open, and it's crazy, dude, like I see it every single day now because we're doing like 50, 60, 70 deliveries a day, dude. And I have like people that are out of work right now working for me doing deliveries, that have kids that they need to support and real bills. And, but like people from out of town will buy donuts and send donuts to people that I assume probably don't have the expendable money right now to be buying our donuts. And when I show up at their house and I have a dozen donuts and a bag of coffee, like I've gotten messages like, hey man, I can't tell you what that little break meant. That was everything. And thank you. And I see it and I know what that's like. So I think that, one, it's almost been like a community service. And I don't want to say like, oh, Strange Donuts is this like more than we are, you know what I mean? But I think that, and I think that people have told me, like, I can't tell you what it means that I wake up and I see that you're open, because there's a lot of places that aren't. And I don't know, it's like a little sense of normalcy that you can grab some donuts. And so,
yeah, I mean, like, I think every person that is going out there and adding something into the economy is making themselves essential. I had like a fantastic conversation with a buddy of mine this afternoon, because I was a little bit like, man, I really don't like state lockdowns. I feels like you're saying, I don't know. It feels like an intrusion of government in with me. And this guy said, wait a second, look at it this way. The government just said only essential people be out there, and you get to choose if you're essential right now. You get to choose, do I have a skill that can fix problems that people have? And like, I talked with an HVAC guy yesterday, man, I wanted to like reach out and give him a hug, because he was like, you know what, we're not worried. We're still going out there. We're doing these things. We're getting stuff done. And no matter what happens at the end of today and next week and next month, you got to have people that are willing to go out there, face some risk, and get things done. And man, it's huge. Whether you're delivering donuts or putting fiber optic cable in the ground or running cattle, it doesn't matter. Just make yourself essential. That's badass.
Well, I think that there's some things that I see, and I don't know, man, maybe this is an unpopular opinion. I would prefer, and I think that it might be easier for some people. Like, a lot of the messaging is not very clear, right? They're like, we're going to have a complete shutdown. Now, there's a lot of like, misunderstanding about what a shutdown means. And I'm like, you can still, and I was like, man, I'm like, just lock everything down, dude. I'd feel like it would be easier, like keep the hospitals open and hey, you got to stay at home. But like, I don't, if it's easy for me sometimes to feel like, my industry is attacked, but it's not Jason, it's not Strange Donuts, it's not the restaurant industry, it's not St. Louis, it's not the United States, it's the whole world, dude. And so I'm like, I feel like people are looking for leadership, whether that's from a community leader or government official. I think that, I don't know, it's crazy right now. But I'll tell you, dude, like, in knowing like not how I'm doing, like I was thinking about something. I don't know, I have people that work for me, dude, and more like myself, I'm like, I feel like there could be more deaths from suicide and alcoholism and drugs, you know, than the virus itself. Like people losing their stuff, you know, and not feeling like there's a way out. And dude, I gotta be out. Like I was like power washing my deck. I definitely had more time because we're only open 5 hours a day. I'm running like crazy. You know what I mean? I'm working probably 10 times as hard as I have been to make, you know, less money. And I'm okay with that. You know, there's a part of me that knows like we're going to come out of this and I'm going to choose to come out of this stronger. There's a story about Coca-Cola, you know, in the war when they were rationing sugar. Like it's an awesome story, but Coca-Cola, you know, became dominant because of this, right? And like being scrappy in hard times. And so you guys can Google on that stuff, but like, dude, I was power washing my deck the other day, and I'll have like thoughts of suicide sometimes, right? Like just in my normal everyday walking around life, you know. And I don't know if that's like specific to me, dude.
No, I mean, I have it. If things are, even when things are good, you know, you like, and then you like see something that might go wrong and you're like, I don't know, maybe I just kill myself. And then you're like, no, wait a second. No, I wouldn't. Like I'm not, no, wait. But like, if I'm being totally honest, 100%, I've had those like inclinations.
Fleeting thought or,
right.
Usually, dude. And so like, they're usually fleeting thoughts for me. Usually like a negative way of thinking is like kind of my baseline, you know, and I fight against that. And then when I'm like depressed, I do a few things, right? I talk to myself. I talk to like that like depression voice, almost like it's another person. I'm like, you know what? Bring it. You can't stop me. When it gets, and I talk to it and I'm like, hey, thanks for sharing, dude. You know, but we're going to keep on moving. When it gets real bad and it like consumes me, I say to myself, like, you've been here before. It's been worse than this. And you're standing here. You can do it. Keep going. And I try to, like, if I can't shake it, I pour myself into service, you know, like, hey, how can I go help someone else right now? Or I call people that I know have been having a hard time and I check in on them. And it like gives me like a little bit of a break where I'm not thinking about myself and like spinning. But the other day, dude, like I couldn't shake it. And it was like, it felt like it was kind of out of nowhere. Like I have a nice house. And before all this happened, we were going to sell the house and like buy a smaller place. My extended family's not living here anymore. They're in Spain and they're in Miami. And, so it's just my wife and kids here, so we don't need all the space that we have. So, but I was like getting ready to sell my house, just doing stuff around the house. I was power washing the deck, and dude, like, I couldn't for probably 2 solid hours while I was like power washing the deck. It was like I couldn't shake thinking about killing myself. And the first thought is like, you know, don't tell anybody, you know, or you're.
Yeah, that voice wants you alone. It doesn't want you to talk to anybody else.
Dude.
Keep you away from all those people that might try and talk you out of the thing.
Dude, or like people will think you're weak, which is fucking stupid. People will think you're weak if you say you're scared, you know, people will abandon you. This is just how I think, you know, or like they'll think something's wrong with you or your business and they won't come. And so it totally like is like tries to isolate me. And so I was just like, all right, man, finish up. And I felt like I had a panic attack a couple days before that, just kind of like when I was really trying to figure out like, where do we cut hours? You know, can we keep everybody on? How do we change our business model? And it got real overwhelming. Like I couldn't almost even see straight. And I went for a walk. I wrestled with my kids and it snapped me out of it. But the other day I couldn't shake it. And, I don't know, I called one of my friends and I was just like, I forced myself to like get the first opportunity to say like, I just told him, I'm like, hey man, I had thought of killing myself and I couldn't shake it. And I can't get it out of my head. And, I don't know, I thought about like, because I had a brother who killed himself. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No,
like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I had a brother who killed himself 9 years ago. And it wrecked me, dude. I still miss him. My name's Jason. His name was Mason, right? And like, awesome kid. And I know, like, I'm not in his head, you know, but I've been on that like precipice, right? Where like when you feel backed in a corner or you feel down, and you when you feel bad, it feels like you've always felt bad. You know, when you feel depressed, it feels like you'll always feel depressed.
Yeah, when you're lonely, you think you're never going to see somebody again. Nobody will ever, be able to make a connection with you again.
No one will
and
ever
it's the
love
fear
you.
of it going on forever. That's what I've always thought. It's not the moment, it's the fear that moment will last forever.
Boom. And people, and I've said this out loud, like people want to kill the moment. You know, they don't want to kill themselves. They want to kill that moment that they feel like will never end. And so, like, man, I was like, but I don't know, the other day it was like, it felt like a foregone conclusion, you know, like, man, I worked so hard for all this stuff and it could leave. And if it leaves, I'm a failure, you know? And so I'm not a person that's like afraid of success. I'm afraid of failing at a more public level, you know? And I feel like, man, all these people depend on me, and all these people think I'm this cool, funny guy, and all these people think I'm happy-go-lucky. And if I can't be, you should just end it, dude. And I called a friend, talked to him for a while. Somebody else happened to call and check in on me. This business owner who, like, I'm not going to say who he is because he could share it, but like, pretty high profile dude, does a bunch of stuff in St. Louis in a different industry. And he was like, man, I'm so glad you said that, dude, because I've been thinking the same thing. And I know that it's like completely illogical, but you know, some of that stuff feels like a foregone conclusion. And it was almost like I was strong then, you know, like, oh, I'm strong for talking about this. I'm strong for being willing to talk about the way I feel and think.
It's pulling yourself away from that voice, right? That voice that wants to be like, no, you and me, we know each other and we don't need anybody else. That's good.
Yeah. I do that. I read this thing every day. It's on Hazleton, like the Betty Ford Clinic, right? They have all these readings every day, and there's this stuff that's like a daily reading for men, and I read that every day. So I try to wake up and put some positivity in my head, and if like throughout the day that I'll go back and read that stuff. But then like usually, I don't know if people realize this, dude, like I tweeted some stuff the other day, like, you know, you're not alone, you're loved and cared for. I can't remember what else it said, but I was like, keep going. And most of the time, those things get really good responses. You know what I mean? But I'm not writing that really for anybody else. I'm writing it for me. You know, like I'm putting it out there like I need this right now. It's like affirmation for me, like, because sometimes, I don't know, I do something in business right now, and I've done it for a while, where I'm like, okay, what would CEO Jason say? So I like ask CEO Jason in my head, like, what do you think we should do? You know, and CEO Jason will say like, I think we should hammer delivery. I think that, you know, you should establish, you know, like some funny content so that people can have a little bit of relief. And if it completely shuts down, you know, maybe you can make people laugh for money, you know, and feed your family. And so that's what I do when I'm like really caught up. But like, I do the same. Like sometimes I have to think like, okay, dude, what would you say to other people? You know, if somebody screwed something up right now, like, would you tell them to kill themselves? Like, nah, you'd probably tell them you love them, dude. You probably hug them. You'd probably see like all the beautiful things in their life, you know, but sometimes we just can't do that for ourselves. And it's crazy to me, dude, sometimes that like a stranger, a complete stranger can love me more than I can love myself, you know? So, I mean, I know right now, dude, if I called you in the middle of the night, right? And we're friends, right? Like, yeah. I like you a lot. I look up to you a lot. I think that, like, you know, there's a lot of stuff in your life that I try to emulate, dude. Like, you would never tell me to hurt myself. You
No,
know what I mean?
no,
you
man.
would, you would like lift me up. But for some reason, dude, sometimes I'm like, you got to go with this alone. When it is fucking insane, dude. When everyone in the world right now is going through this.
That's right.
To think that I would be the only one that thinks and feels this way. Right? It's irrational times, right? So like, why do I chastise myself for thinking and feeling and maybe even acting irrationally? You know?